All right, let's finish up with topic number 4 here. As WWE continues to evolve and bring in new talent, the debate over who is the top wrestler in the company is always a hot topic. Recently, Sports Illustrated named Seth Rollins as the top wrestler of 2022, citing his impressive in-ring work and ability to adapt to various storylines and characters. However, there are those who argue Roman Reigns should be considered the top wrestler in the company, given his dominance in the ring and his strong connection with the WWE Universe. So my question for everybody today is, did Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns have a bigger impact on pro wrestling in the year 2022? Now, this is one of those questions you're going to be wrong no matter what. No matter which side you choose, you're going to be wrong. Because there's going to be 50% of people who are going to scream at Seth Rollins. There's going to be 50% of people who scream it's Roman Reigns, and then there's going to be a weird 10% that shouldn't exist that are going to scream some other name. Kenny Omega, John Moxley, right? They want to be different for the sake of being different. But we're here to argue Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. And there's really, to me, once again, I like to break things down into structures. So there's 5 things I look at when I'm going back and grading a wrestler's performance, be it over a month, a year, a career. But there's 5 things that I really like to lay into, and that's in-ring style and how they utilized it, the promos that they cut, the development of their character, their match history, and their accomplishments in the said period of time. So Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins have different in-ring styles. Both of those styles could be compared and contrasted, right? Roman Reigns is known to be more powerful, more meticulous, more kind of slow moving. He has a dominant style, while Seth Rollins is more known for like high flying and an energetic approach. They both really stuck to that this year and kind of doubled down on those. And if I'm comparing and I'm making my first assessment, it's a tie. That's a tie, because both styles are effective in storytelling, just one isn't better than the other. They're just different. They're just 2 different styles of telling your story. And I think that they both do what they do kind of at the top level of how they do it. So I'd say equally, I'm not giving a point to either one. And then we got to talk about the microphone, right? Now, Seth Rollins is kind of this rambling talker who is charming, and he can talk around the crowd and manipulate the crowd, whereas Roman Reigns is more direct. Roman Reigns understands long pauses. Roman Reigns understands the effectiveness of the term, sometimes less is more. So once again, I can't award a point here over the last year, because I think Seth Rollins has been extremely effective in talking himself out of a lot of bad situations, whereas Roman has continued to build his character and continue to just connect with like, you can't really define, is Roman heel? Is he babyface because he continues to act as a heel, but the crowd fucking loves him and they love the acknowledge me's and the things like that. So I think when it comes to microphone work, I'm not picking. They're both equally as compelling to me. So once again, apples to oranges. Which style do you prefer? But I don't think one is better than the other. So then we've got to move to character development. That's the third in the notorious list of how you assess a wrestler. And character development, I honestly feel like in the year 2022, Seth Rollins regressed and took a step backwards. Now I'm going to eat shit for that comment. That I get, the internet's going to come for me, but give me a second to explain myself. If you look at the progression of the year, I think that, and I don't think it's Seth's fault, I think it's Triple H and WWE's booking fault. Seth started as a strong heel. He got over with the crowd. His little song and dance thing got over with the crowd, and I think WWE panicked and they go, we need a babyface. And I think they turned to Seth and said, you need to start applying more babyface tactics. Now, I don't know that Seth ever fully committed and walked over to, we'll call it the light and the dark. I don't think he ever walked over to the light side, but I do think that the last couple months, Seth Rollins has been hindered by this idea that WWE wants him to feel a connection with the crowd and be a babyface instead of letting Seth Rollins do what he does best, which is be the Joker and the Riddler and be the likable bad guy. So I think that in the year 2022, Seth Rollins actually regressed a little bit, not in talent, but in the booking by WWE. So I think that Roman Reigns, he maintained his momentum from day one all the way to Survivor Series, right? It was a constant Roman Reigns. He was who he was. I never feel like he took a step backwards. In fact, there's points in time where I think he made it took small strides forward. So for character development over the year 2022, I have to give it to Roman Reigns there. I would give the advantage to Roman Reigns. And so then that leaves us going into the fourth systematic way you measure success here, and that is the match history. And the only matches, guys, to be honest, the only matches that really matter are your premium live events. That's where you decide if the needle's moving or not. I get Roman is not on SmackDown every week, but that is something that is earned. That is not a negative. If Roman can do that and still draw the amount of fanfare that he gets, that shouldn't be looked at as a negative. That should be looked at as, oh my God, he's the real deal. So let's break down. The only thing I'm going to look at is their premium live event history. Let's talk about Seth Rollins. Day one. Right off, day one, fatal 5-way match where he lost the WWE title. Or he lost the match that was for the WWE title. Didn't lose the title. He lost the match for the title. Okay? That's one. We start off the year one. And now I'm not necessarily going to count losses against someone in a sense of like, because there is not, it's pre-scripted. I'm not going to count it against him, but I am going to. Losses mean that you weren't the choice going forward. So it does hold some weight. Royal Rumble, Seth Rollins defeats Roman Reigns via DQ. This has to hold some weight because this means that WWE at that point in time, though we're still in the Vince McMahon era, they weren't ready to commit to Roman Reigns beating Seth Rollins. They love this mystique that Seth Rollins is always the wild card who at any point in time can defeat Roman Reigns. So that has to hold some weight. Elimination Chamber, Seth is in the main event and he loses. WrestleMania, Seth Rollins loses to a returning Cody Rhodes. Backlash, Cody Rhodes defeats Seth Rollins yet again. Hell in a Cell, Cody Rhodes, broken purple titty, comes back, beats Seth Rollins again. That's 3 big losses in a row to Cody Rhodes. It's hard for me to grant you Superstar of the Year when you lost 3 times. How is Cody not Superstar of the Year then? And I'm not saying he is, but how isn't he? You got 3 in a row there. Then we go to Money in the Bank. He loses to Austin Theory. SummerSlam, Seth Rollins has no official match. So he takes the night off. He has a run-in with Riddle, but no official match. Clash at the Castle, Seth Rollins picks up a victory against Riddle. Then Extreme Rules, they flip the script, and Riddle picks up the win over Seth Rollins. Survivor Series, Seth Rollins loses his United States title to Austin Theory. So that's 2-8. That's a 2-8 record with only wins coming against in a 50-50 split with Riddle, and a win coming in a DQ at Royal Rumble against Roman Reigns. 1-8 or 2-8. That's a rough record. I don't know. Superstar of the Year? Let's talk about Roman Reigns. Royal Rumble, he lost to Seth Rollins via disqualification. All right, no big deal. He came out of that looking strong. Elimination Chamber, he defeated Goldberg. It's Goldberg, but it's Goldberg, right? Then WrestleMania, he defeats Brock Lesnar in a big match that was billed as the most stupendous match of all time. Backlash, he joins the Bloodline and they defeat RK Bro and Drew McIntyre. That feels pretty big deal. Then we went on the hiatus. He doesn't show up at Hell in a Cell. He doesn't show up at Money in the Bank. So that's 2 shows. To Seth only missed or didn't have a match in 1 show. Then we go to SummerSlam. And Roman Reigns defeats Brock Lesnar in possibly the match of the year. Both guys have a candidacy for match of the year, being Cody versus Seth at Hell in a Cell and Roman versus Brock at SummerSlam. So, but Roman defeats Brock in a huge match at SummerSlam. So then we go to Clash. Roman defeats Drew McIntyre. We go to Extreme Rules. It's another no-show for Roman Reigns. And then we end the year at Survivor Series with the Bloodline beating the Brawling Brutes and this huge celebration. So that's, I think, 6-1. He lost one premium live event match due to DQ that he came out of looking strong. And you guys are making an argument for Seth Rollins. Who? Who's making the argument? Sports Illustrated? It's hard to make an argument for Seth Rollins. And that's not saying that Seth Rollins didn't accomplish a ton of things. Let's go to just the fifth metric in my process here, and that is accomplishments. Are any of you arguing that a short United States title run is more important than being the undisputed Universal Champion for over 200 days, for having both belts over 200 days, for being the Universal Champion for over 365 days? Who is arguing that? Like, you got to help me here. Sports Illustrated, what are you thinking? It's cool. It is fine to be a fan of Seth Rollins, but it is stupid to dump and take a shit on the accomplishments of Roman Reigns. But here's the problem. So I did some digging after this because this smelled a little fucking fishy to me. This is Sports Illustrated, though. This is supposed to be a credible sports magazine. And then I did some digging, and I went and I pulled up the rest of this list. And if you look at the rest of this list, it becomes painfully obvious that this was written by someone who was having an IWC wet dream when they made the list. Number 1, Seth Rollins. Number 2, Jon Moxley. Number 3, Bianca Belair, who I am a big Bianca Belair fan, but you're telling me, in what fucking world are you telling me that Bianca Belair had a better 2022 than Roman Reigns? Help me there, guys. Number 5, Will Ospreay. All right, this is the game we play where if a guy wrestles in New Japan Pro and has a good year, we pretend like that's the same as being in WWE or AEW. We pretend. We like to play pretend that this guy's a big deal. How many guys do you guys talk about in the Canadian Football League? Sports Illustrated. How many guys do you talk about that are playing basketball overseas in China? How many of those guys are on your top 10 list? 0. Stop doing this. Stop putting these guys on top 10 lists. If they're not in WWE or AEW, they don't make the top 10 list, especially not in a publication that is read by casual sports fans like Sports Illustrated. Number 6, Jamie Hayter. For the whole year? Like, she won the title like a month or two ago. I'd argue that Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa had better years than Jamie Hayter. If you want to go who had the best winter, maybe Jamie Hayter's on that list. But for the whole year, come on, man. Come on. Then we go number 7. El Hijo del Vikingo. I knew this shit was fucked when I read this shit. This is top 10. Top 10. Number 8 and number 9. Dax Hardwood and Cash Wheeler on a top 10 wrestlers list. Come on, man. That's not, list them as FTR, list them as a tag team. You want to put them in the top, I'm okay with the argument that they're top 3 tag team, but individually, those dudes are not on a top 10 list. I'm sorry. Neither one of them is interesting enough to make a top 10 list of best professional wrestlers. Just not happening, man. And that's not a knock on them. I could list off 25 people that I would put before Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler on an individual list, not on a tag team list, but on an individual list. And then number 10 is Masha Slamovich, which just sounds like some shit this guy made up. Like, I feel like the farther down the list he got, he just started making names up. But that's it. That explains so much. And this is the IWC. That is the prime example of like the catering to the IWC. That's what it is.